Okay, good evening, everybody. Hello, and very warm welcome to all of you on this webinar on making well-being a wakeful practice in our series of Making NEP Happen. Today is the fourth session, and we are very excited to spend this time with you. So, everybody who's here, let's start to get to know where you are. So, please type in the chat if you can hear me. I am from. Let's start with that. Let's get to know where are you from? Where are you joining us from? I am from New Delhi. Okay, great. Bangalore, Noida, and Bangalore a lot. Wow. Delhi. So Greater Noida. Okay. Vijayanagar. Okay. Rudrapur. Very nice. Let's move to our next question and please share how you're feeling. Like we are feeling very excited today. How are you feeling? Then we will be talking about making well-being a wakeful practice. Feeling great. Ruchika is feeling great. Okay. Excited and curious. Curious. Yali is curious. Ramesh is curious. A lot of people are curious. At the starting of the webinar. Okay. Excited. Overexcited. Somebody is overexcited also. Wow. That gives me a lot of energy. Then very excited, curious, happy and curious. Most pertinent. Yeah. Great. Curious and excited. Very good. And now let's get to know your professional role. Let's see who all are with us today. So what's your professional role? Oh, Pooja is saying I'm ready for a spiritual retreat. Okay. We have teacher, assistant mistress. Okay. Teacher, PGD, commerce, teacher, math teacher, at volunteer at Yoga Kishma, okay? Academic coordinator, unemployed, okay? Very nice. This is a great time to upgrade your skills, Rajdi. Okay, TGT science, okay? Learner, okay? Very good. Great, very excited to have all of you from different places and different roles with all of us. Moving on, let's see who all are our speakers today. We have Vishnu Kant, founder of Propel Curriculum, Upasana Kinra, who is a psychologist and educator, then Agnes Joseph, who's a researcher and curriculum developer, and I am Nikhil Juneja, a design thinking strategist, life leadership coach, and a strength coach. Now, about Vishnu. So Vishnu is passionate about challenging himself and others to stretch their minds to inquire and learn. He thrives to be in teaching learning situation, and his eternal quest has been to inquire what is it that works for learning, and what is that learning which makes the mind free rather than conditioning it. Having gone through his roles of learner, teacher, school head, parent, and transformational lab activator, Vishnu has put together all his learnings to create Propel Curriculum that addresses the learning and performance needs of all stakeholders in school education. Let's welcome Vishnu. Vishnu, we are happy to have you here. And then we have Agnes Joseph, who's a passionate educator and with a master's in education from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, she has spent the last 10 plus years pursuing her passion for transforming education to empower young minds. In her current assignment, she leads the end-to-end research and development for Propel Curriculum. Her attention to detail allows her to continually seek feedback and add value to curriculum by making progressive changes that help teachers as well as fosters a healthy student atmosphere. Agnes has grown in her role as a thoughtful teacher, an observant facilitator, a teacher trainer, and a curriculum developer. She is dedicated to meaningful learning in children, where children also learn to take responsibility of their learning. Also specializes in project-based learning methodology and has not only taught children using it, but also developed structured curriculum for it that has been empowering teachers for enabling learning in children. Let's welcome Agnes. Agnes, we are happy to have you here. Very excited to speak with you. And then we have Upasana Kinra. Upasana is a psychologist and an educator. She works with high school students on their applications to various countries like US, Canada, Hong Kong, UK, Singapore, Australia, Europe, and India. She guides the students and parents through their entire journey, from writing applications to summer school to building profiles, creating winning resumes, writing college essays, recommendation letters, scholarships, and also financial aid. She's a diligent self starter, a learner at heart, and a seeker who enjoys challenges. Upasna, happy to have you here. Looking forward to speak with you today. Today's agenda, we will have a little chat with Vishnu Kant to start with, then we will chat with Upasna Kinnara, and then finally with Agnes Joseph, and finally we will have question and answers round with everybody. And in between, we will share some PPTs and some activities. Okay, so let's welcome Vishnu. Vishnu, request you to come on the stage, and I will put you on the spotlight. Great. So, Vishnu, I think to start with, before I start asking you some questions, I think you have some questions for the audience. Is this the right time?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Yeah, that is one thing you can easily identify me with when I ask questions. Okay, so here is first question for everybody. The question that you're going to put it,
Yes.
can I request you to do that for everybody? So in one or two words, what do you think? Okay, what do schools teach our children? Okay, so I want you to write your answers in the chat. Ramesh Sudarshan saying rote learning. Okay, what do schools teach our students today? Okay, so rote learning is a way, a method, but what do they teach? Moral ethics, maths, yeah, information and reproducing, discipline, life skills, discipline. Okay, all right, go ahead. Morality, prescribed curriculum, values, creativity, expand the child's, okay, knowledge. All right, so this is very interesting. Moral values, various subjects, personality, yeah, life skills, holistic development, ours to succeed. Wow, thank you, Vivek. That's interesting. I'm very happy. I would be really, really happy to see a school that really, does Rachna is saying creativity and critical thinking, enhanced knowledge of child. Very nice. All right. So, very interesting. A whole lot of knowledge and skills focus. And so that is so. Okay. So the next question is going to be slightly different. All right. What do you want? Okay. So Nikhil, if I request you. So in one or two words, tell me what do you, okay, most want for your children. Okay. So that is what the schools do. But what is it that you would want most for your children? Okay, right. So Ramesh, that's the answer to the second question. Curiosity, skepticism. Yeah. Okay. Right. Happy child. Right. Okay. Thank you. Become a real human being. Okay. Find your zone and be in it. Live life. Sushmita is saying, live life. Wow. Enthusiasm for learning. Okay. Prepare them for life challenges. Children should enjoy coming to school. Very nice. Okay. So, joy. Okay. So, look at the words that I'm just happy and successful living. Okay. Joy. Life. Be ready for life's challenges. Live life. Okay, whatever it is. Sushmita is saying live life. Okay, Vivek's saying find the child, find your own zone. This mindfulness. Oh, Ruchika from Bhutan, or just she writes Bhutan. Okay, mindfulness, curious. Lovely. So people, I want you to look at it. So if you look at if you focus on the answer to the second question, what is it that we want to see in our children? Okay. So if you look at it, there's so much focus on living life fully, living life mindfully, be happy, be successful in what we're doing, being enthusiastic, curious, okay, find her own place, be a good human being. Now, these are things, this, if I were to put them all together, okay, this is generally would be called a well-being of a child. Okay, when we say that, okay, when we say, and this is very important to understand, that when we look at it, that okay, I want, I want the child, I want my child to have that well-being. Okay, now what we mean by that is just exactly what you have put in, everything good that we aspire for. Okay, so all the skills, all the knowledge, all the various moralities and laws that we want our children to learn is really for their happiness, so that they can be happy. Okay, so today I'm happy to announce that in today's experiential webinar, and we are calling it because we would really like, Propel stands for experiential learning, and we would like that to be very, very, core to whatever we do. So in today's webinar, and it's experiential webinar, I want us to together explore what does it mean to be, to have well-being, to have our being fully formed well, and whether we can teach that to children or not, and in what, and how. NEP, okay, so National Education Policy 2020 at many places has talked about well-being, and I'm just going to, I'm not going to kind of preempt what Upasana is going to talk about. There's really what all goes into that. But I want you to broadly, I want to lay down, lay out a broad understanding that when we talk about well-being in schools, and NEP is talking about well-being, largely it is about their physical, emotional, and social, happiness of the child, the well-being of the body, of the mind, of the, the brain. Okay, so so how children are connecting, how children are going to be interacting with each other, how they are with themselves, all of it, and how happy they are, how contented they are. That would all constitute to children's well-being. So I'm just going to, Nikhil, if I may request you, just a slight change in that. So I want to share with them, so the PERMA slide with them. I want you all to know that when we talk about well-being, and there is a lot of work that has happened, um, it is very important to understand that well-being is not limited to being just, feeling good about something. Okay, it is not something just, okay, you just watched an amazing movie and you're just on the high. It is not an emotional high. Okay, well-being is a lot more holistic, a complete conception of a happy, fully functional, purposeful, meaningful human life, and that is the important part. And I think for once, I'm happy that NEP has actually done. They have not yet elaborated much, and I don't know to what extent they'll be able to do it when they get into it. But I am hoping that we will use that as an opportunity to shape a generation which is whole, which is complete. Okay, so the one researcher from the Penn University, which also has got an amazing well-being curriculum for children and for adults, and Martin Seligman. Martin,
Seligman.
he has done some research and has proposed a very comprehensive model called PERMA. If it is if you could just now, when we talk about well-being, we talk about basically the human being. So now when we are saying this, all of these are indicators or elements of well-being. Okay, so just want to say that, put it in perspective. These are elements of well-being, but at the same time, they contribute. So not just that they are part of it, okay, but they contribute to making a person happy and complete. So positive emotions, so these are fairly self-explanatory, but I'll just talk about a few which often get misunderstood, and that's an important thing. And then we will do a little poll to see where you are, okay, on this. So that would be interesting. Positive emotion is really about the emotions that bring the best out of you, that get the best out of others with whom you're interacting. So empathy, affection, care, love, all those emotions that impact people, I mean, you feel happy about, and that impacts others very well. So all that, and there is energy in that. So positive emotions necessarily have energy. Of course, negative emotions can also have a lot of energy, and they can be very destructive. The good part about the positive emotions are they are always constructive. Okay, they are energy. Engagement refers to being into the flow of whatever you're doing. And that's a very important criteria. Often we miss when we talk about education, when we talk about this. It's not about entertaining. You can be very totally absorbed in watching a good movie, okay? Or eating a very uh, masaledar paratha or tikya, okay? I mean, that I'm not denying that there is any, I mean, there's a lot of joy that you derive from it. But this engagement is about the human being able to give full attention to something, okay, and something that makes you completely forget yourself. So think of a situation where you totally forgot yourself. You didn't exist. It was only whatever you were doing with complete flow. That would be called engagement, okay? And that is something what, when we talk about experiential learning, that is what we aim to attain, we aim to get, that the children will become totally engaged. So we keep saying that a good classroom, when children are totally engaged, a lot of visitors I have seen in schools, many schools that we have observed. I have gone there to observe. Well, when children are engaged, they don't bother who comes and who goes. They're so totally immersed in what they're doing. And that is a very important indicator that they're not bothered about outside. That's a good indicator of being engaged. Positive relationship, we generally know, okay, the relationship that connects to people and which impacts them positively. Meaning refers to what is intrinsically derived by the human being in a particular engagement. So whatever we're doing, this is a very important thing, and uh, it is subjective as well as there is something universality to meaning. Okay, so somebody, I mean, could probably say that I'm planting trees and it is very meaningful. Yes, it is very meaningful. Is it also meaningful to a whole lot of people? It could be, and then you could say yes, it is meaningful, powerful. But it's also possible that some children, if you have seen, they begin to, find meaning in torturing, getting hold of animals, dogs, and torturing them. Okay, and they could probably enjoy doing it. They say, "Oh, I love it. There is so much meaning." Now, so when we look at meaning, the meaning has some intrinsic value and certain universalities, and it's very important that it is not seen in a purely pleasurable thing and say, "Oh, this is very meaningful for me." Very important. We should look at it probably, and I invite you to explore a little bit. But there is something very important that without the meaning, human beings generally are totally lost. Accomplishment comes from almost all of this together. Okay, so there is meaning when you do, there is you build positive relationships, you're totally engaged. Yes, generally it results into achieving something, and that is accomplishment. The H element, this is actually not the original the perma, but H was added because we should also not undermine the importance of physical well-being. Okay, and a lot has been said about that. Only a healthy body, I mean, can provide seed for a healthy mind. Not necessarily exactly. Not all healthy people are very good, and I mean, there could be unhappily healthy. Okay, I mean healthy but unhappy. Okay, and do not mistake health with the muscular bodies that gyms produce today. Okay, health is a general body, good functions available, just fit for the kind of things that you do. So all of it. Upasana is going to take us on a more focused emotional social aspect of well-being that we practice in schools. But before we go there, okay, here is a poll for you, okay, and I want you to look at it now. Because we are all, I mean, you're teachers, and it is good to treat you as your teachers, your adults. This generally shows, okay, what is the well-being that we think. Okay, so here in relationship, what comes out, this is a question for you, and it will reveal. So we'll just look at it. Yeah, may I request Nikhil, please, to
Yes.
put the poll.
Yes, and all of the things that Vishnu just spoke about, since we are starting, we will start interacting one by one on the different areas of overall well being. And to start with, here is the first question that we have on the poll. And here you see it on your screen. The question is, how would you respond when your partner tells you, I received a promotion and a salary raise? And the options are, that is great, I'm so proud of you, tell me more. The other is, good news, you deserve it. And then that sounds more like more work, are you going to spend less time at home right now? And the last one is, what's for dinner today? I need to freshen up, it's been a long day.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of people are saying, that is great, I'm so proud of you, tell me more. And then some people are saying good news, and somebody has actually said that, you know what, this means more work. Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let this be here for some time, and then I want to. Okay, so I'm glad. I'm really happy that majority has opted. 33% actually. Sorry, 67% have chosen the first one. Let's just analyze it, and then you will really know. Okay. The first one is when you respond to something, okay, somebody is coming, it's a good feeling that person is coming and sharing, okay? So how do you respond? The first one, if you see, okay, so now along with the poll, can we have, now, so I want to share that this actually plots what is the kind of emotional being that you reach out. So this is related to positive emotions that we're talking about, the PERMA's first one. Okay, um, now what is it that we approach when somebody is coming with some happiness? What is it that you approach? And often teachers, children are playing outside, they just suddenly will come with one broken leg of an animal, or a leaf of a plant, and they will rush to show the teacher. And how do you respond? Do you focus, oh, how dirty you have done this, you do this, why did you pluck, etc.? Or do you share the joy of the child and talk about it? Okay. So we are saying that how does relationship, our own positive, our own emotions, and how when I approach something, how does that build or break a relationship? So this building and breaking a relationship is really about us, is the way how we approach an event. This is an event where somebody is sharing, okay? In the first one, if you see, it's very important, and I'm just going to go over one line on each, and then I will show you, Nikhil will show us a table which really fits all of this, okay? So the first one, really, if you see, there's a positivity, okay? So there is what we would call constructive feeling, constructive emotion. And there is certain activism to it. Oh, come, let's sit down. I want you to talk about it. I want to hear more. That is really, so I want you to know only the first one builds relationship, because that is where you are actively inviting a person to come and share. Okay, that's a very, very powerful thing. Okay, that is what will get the other person feel really, really excited. Okay, come. Okay, inviting the person to talk about things. Often we don't do because we take a whole lot of things for granted. Even I do that most of the time. Okay, so if we want to build lasting relationships, happy relationships, stronger relationships, then being positive or constructive and actively inviting. So being active and being. The second one, there is certain positivity. You could see that. That sounds, sorry, second one, good news. Okay. You deserved it. So there is constructivism. It is constructive, but passive. As if, okay, you did it, good, you got it. As if I'm not important, don't want to be part of it. Now that is a very important part. It doesn't build relationship. The person might just say, okay, I deserved it, I got it. But this person, he or she is really not interested in what happens to me. That is being passive, doesn't work with building relationships. The third one is that sounds like more work. So all that the person is seeing is that, okay, so the impact is that we are going to suffer at home. You will be, oh, that means you will be lesser here, okay, less time here. I'm glad that probably only one or two people have answered, two people. Yeah, that is destructive relationship. That is destructive emotion, and it is actively biting. Okay, so it is destructive, it's negative, and it actively impacts the other person. The fourth one is really neutral. Okay, not interested, negative bhi nahi, positive. Actually it will be called negative only because it damages the relationship. You're not interested. And passive, okay, you don't exist for me. So here is a model that Nikhil, if you could kindly put it, and it's important for us to look at it. What I just showed, it fits in this thing. This is a very simple model where you see anything that we do, we can be passive or we can be active. And when we approach, our emotions could be constructive or destructive. Okay. Now, what will really work and build a relationship is when we are constructive and active. The A, okay, that is the only time when I can nurture a relationship. If I'm passive, it may not destroy the relationship, but it will definitely not build. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Nikhil. We could go on and then maybe take questions at the end.
Great. Yes, Vishnu, thank you very much. This was great. I think now the PERMA model also that you shared, and my favorite one in that is engagement, that talks about flow. And, now when you were talking about it, I was thinking, where are those moments in my life when I am in flow and I don't realize how time passes by. So I'm curious to know from the audience here, if you can share with us one thing that you can think of in your life when you do this one thing, you're completely in flow and you don't even realize where time is passing by. So what is that thing for you? For me, it is, I would say, one thing is gardening. When I
Hey Ramesh, I really like you. Whoever it is, solving math problem. I love it.
yes, let's hear more
Yeah.
people. Yeah. Okay. When I talk to children, maths problems. Okay. Okay. Very nice. Great. Others are still thinking. I think this is also true that a lot of the people don't know that what is that one thing which I do when I'm in complete flow and I really enjoy it. So telling stories, especially pencil sketch, Zoom sessions with my class. Wow.
Okay. That is really approaching with a lot of positivity.
Yeah. When I'm engaged with my fur kids, playing with children, drawing pictures. Very nice. Reading books, helping someone get a smile on face.
How sweet.
Very nice. And I think a next obvious question that I have for everybody is, how much time do you actually spend doing this? So yeah. Somebody while researching or while painting, does sleeping count? Yes, yes. Yeah.
I like that one. Hmm.
Sunita ji said dancing also, but that somehow came privately to me. Spending time with family. Very nice. Great. Thank you very much for these responses, everybody. I'm taking these as tips and I will try to do most of this and try to flow more with it. Moving on, I have the first question for Vishnu today. Vishnu, since we're talking about well-being and as per NEP, the overall aim of ECCE will be to attain optimal outcome in the domains of physical and motor development and cognitive development, then also socio-emotional ethical development, such as curiosity, patience, teamwork, cooperation, interaction, and empathy required for school preparedness. Please open it up for us, especially the term socio-emotional ethical development, and what all does it imply?
Yeah, so I think so when we are talking about the PERMA thing. Basically, it includes all. It includes social, which is relationship; emotional, which is we talk about the feeling and so on. So that really encompasses most of them. How NEP is going to make it happen in the schools is something that we still need to see. But a lot of that's some part of your questions would also be addressed by Upasana, who is going to follow. Actually, I've already taken a lot of time, so I want her to go into this. We'll come back towards the end if there is something remaining. Yeah.
So certainly, thank you, Vishnu. Um, let's welcome Upasana on the stage. Hi, Upasana.
Hi.
Thank you very much for joining us
Good
today.
evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening. Let's
Yeah,
say
thank
hello
you
to
for the
Upasana in the chat. Okay, Upasana, I think the first question I have for you is, after, Vishnu has set some context for us, how would you say that, how does socio-emotional learning contribute to the development of cognitive thinking and to the overall development of the child?
Before I take up your question or before I answer it, can I do a small exercise with the participants?
Absolutely.
Okay, so including you. So all of you just close your eyes for a while. Close your eyes for a while, all of you. I can see you, Nikhil, your eyes are open.
I'm just managing.
So just close your eyes for a while and try and remember any one teacher from your school, any one teacher. The first teacher that you remember, just that. You don't have to try hard. And now I would like you to write down as in the chat box as to what do you remember about that one teacher who came to your mind when you close your eyes. What about her? Energy, encouraging, cheerful, loving, personal connect, challenged, smile, very encouraging person, communication skills, right? 6 books and 7 days of maths. I'm sure you're the same person who enjoys maths puzzles also. Motivation, motivating and discipline, smile, okay. The care expressed. You taught me cheating. This was interesting. So I think I've got some lovely responses from the audiences. And I think you probably don't remember what they taught you. You probably remember how they made you feel, isn't it? Yeah?
Yes.
And I think the entire answer to this exercise lays here that, we end up liking those subjects more. We like studying those subjects more, especially when we feel that, we are wanted by that teacher and the teacher likes us. And this is something very general. I mean, you'll see it around you also that, if you try and, force a child to study something, then probably it's not going to be that effective. Instead, if you're going to connect with the child, like Vishnu already spoke about connecting and making relationships. So as a teacher, first you have to, think about being that teacher that when your students, move out in this world and they are professionals and they achieve big things in life, how you want to be remembered. So if you want to be remembered, you want to be the first teacher that they're reminded of when they close their eyes. So it can only be possible if you make connections with them. And once you make a connection, learning becomes very, very easy. So yes, coming back to your question. To begin with, let me first tell you that Nikhil did, introduce me to you people as somebody who helps students in their applications. And I am the college counselor in my school. But apart from that, I am also taking the socio-emotional curriculum with my students. So starting from grade 5 to grade 12. So we have these SEL classes in my school where I am taking them on a regular basis. So even online right now. So this is something, a topic very, very close to my heart because, sometimes it is said that, as a college counselor, you have a lot of work to do, a lot of deadlines to meet. Yeah, sometimes it happens that, they talk about bringing in someone else to teach the socio-emotional curriculum. But I feel that this is something very close to my heart. Not just that, it also connects me with the students whom I'm going to actually guide with their applications and their admissions. So the connection is very, very obvious that, the cognitions that we talk about, cognitions basically are things like, knowing about something, your comprehension, your mental processes like, say, memory, learning, all of these things. So cognition is something that gets impacted by your context. So your context is your social context and the emotional context. So like I had put in the very first question as to which teacher you remember, the first teacher you remember when you close your eyes, it is because, you have memories attached to where the emotions are attached to your memories. So that is why it is said that it's important to bring in some sort of emotion in learning. And how it is done that, we will be going through different slides and try and understand that. We'll try and decipher it a little bit. And instead of keeping it a lot of, heavy on content, I would rather keep it more on giving you certain tools which can help you to do it on a daily basis. Because I am a counselor. So for me, having an entire period to just talking about SEL is entirely different from somebody who's a maths teacher or somebody who's a chemistry teacher. So my idea will be that you should be able to understand as a chemistry teacher what all, first of all, you will understand as to what all are you already doing in the classes and where possibly you can add on more so that you can have a child who learns not just cognitively, but learns socially and emotionally. So what all as a teacher you can do in your classes. So we will be talking about what it is, which obviously Vishnu has already started with, what socio-emotional learning is, then how we are going to do it. So I will be talking about the strategies, and then why, what is the need? I don't know whether you've heard about that golden circle talked about by Simon Sinek. He talks about a golden circle that, even in leadership, he says that the outside and the basic circle is what? That is what you want to do. And then the next thing inside the circle or the next level is, a little higher level is, how you do it after you understand what you're going to do it. But the major question or the innermost circle or the heart or the core of that, it is why it is to be done. So my purpose of the entire presentation will be for you to understand why do you have to bring in socio-emotional learning in the classes, and as to why it is important for you, whether you really want to do it. I mean, why should I do it as a teacher? Why can't the school bring in a counselor and let the counselor do? Because if you answer that why in an affirmative, then definitely, the strategies that you learn or you listen today or you probably would know about, you would want to actually follow that. Talk about what is social emotional learning. So this is something that you can all read up, which clearly tells you that it helps you, these are the skills that you learn These are the skills that you learn during your classroom interactions. And, these are something that you will need not just in your classrooms, but even in your future relationships and beyond. So this what can understand also help you understand why you actually need the students to know about them. So that is the whole idea behind it. So there was this a nice quote by Waters that I wanted to share with you people, which said that a school curriculum that incorporates well-being will ideally prevent depression, increase life satisfaction, encourage social responsibility, promote creativity, foster learning, and even enhance academic achievement. So this is something which is research based and has been concluded by this researcher. So I thought that maybe it will give more authenticity to what we are actually discussing and how we are going to actually move forward with the presentation today. We'll talk about the key competencies that are there in the social emotional learning. So I'll try and break down the key components or the key competencies of social emotional learning. And we can probably understand them better if there are certain examples put in. The very first key competency is self-awareness. What are my thoughts? What are my feelings? And how can I express my thoughts and feelings respectfully? So it is not just being aware of my feelings, but whether I be able to express them respectfully. So that is one key competency that we should, we as educators should try and build up in our students. Then the next step goes to self-management. So it's not just awareness, but managing them. So what different responses can I have to an event, or how can I respond to an event as constructively as possible? So that is managing myself in a certain situation. Then comes social awareness. Again, another very important competency that our students need to develop, and that is how can I better understand other people's thoughts and feelings? How can I better understand why people feel and think the way they do? See, we will be coming to how to do it later on. I'm just trying to decipher or break down the key competencies here. Relationship skills. How can I adjust my actions so that my interactions with different people turn out well? How can I communicate my expectations to other people? And how can I communicate with other people to understand and manage their expectations of me? So, relationship skills is something that, starts from home and not something that the school, because something that is like that, or probably the family atmosphere is something that we can't do much about. Having said that, you as an educator, you as a teacher, you have a very important role to play. So whatever little bit time are with you, you do have an impact. So try and keep doing your work. Don't think that because it is a certain background, so I can't impact much. So that should not be the case. And finally, responsible decision making. See, decision making is something, sometimes when I have my classes, I do give certain problem solving questions to them, or maybe certain exercises or activities to my students. And, there's a difference between how the decisions are being done. Sometimes the decisions very clearly depict that the child kept himself in the center and then thought about others. But sometimes I also see there are children who would like to think about the impact of the decision that they are taking. So that really helps me understand how the children are actually thinking. So my idea in the classes is to actually promote responsible decision making. So that is another very, very important key competency that we require, because decision making in itself is a big task. I mean, you look at adults, it's very difficult to decide, especially in a conflicting situation. So, you might have 3 positive things that are pulling you towards themselves. And, you have to choose one out of all those 3 or 4 things. So deciding one over the other, prioritizing, that's actually very, very difficult. So if you're able to develop that kind of competency in our students now, I mean, we are going to have better decision makers when they grow up. So, the world will be a better place for all. Okay. So now coming to the next slide, which says, how do we do it? So this is going to be difficult. A lot of it will not be in your hands, but you as part of the school community, you can definitely have a role in probably influencing your school leaders, and even some of you are in leadership positions. So probably you can think of how to implement in your school. So there are four basic areas where implementation can be thought about. First is build foundational support and plan. So basically, it is it has to be a collective vision. So after this session, if you are convinced that this is something that you should be doing in this school for students, and if you're convinced that you can play an important role in nation building, so probably you'll go back to your school and have a conversation around it, have a dialogue around it, and try and bring everyone on the same platform, and have a collective vision, and then also ensuring aligned resources and ongoing commitment to the vision. That is going to be extremely important. So even if NEP is suggesting that this is something they want, I mean, we need a lot of systemic changes then. That has to come, slowly and steadily. It's not going to be an overnight change, because life skills classes is something that have already they started, and life skills has been talked about from many years. And it is, when we talk socio-emotional learning, it's nothing but life skills itself. So how much are we actually looking into life skills right now? So I think from the government or the DOE, it has to come maybe some guidelines or something, but don't wait for that. You do your bit when you are in the school. So that's something more important. Like, I have a very small class sizes. So I have hardly 20 or 18 students in my class. But I don't say that, or I don't think to myself that I'm hardly making a difference because it's such a small lot of students that I have. I mean, I work for an international school, and I have students who are from privileged backgrounds. So, in fact, I could have easily thought of, these people, these children are learning a lot already at home, but it's not so. I mean, they all are same. These children, they all need that kind of guidance. Yes, they are exposed a lot, and they come up with excellent creative ideas sometimes, but that's about it. They're children, and they do need us. So I do get passionate sometimes when, I think of we should not be leaving any stone unturned when we are actually thinking about their socio-emotional development. So going back to the implementation strategies, the second one is strengthening adult SEL competencies and capacity. That's something, again, I mean, if you are going to talk about, building up SEL competencies, what about you as a teacher? I mean, are you going to, do something for students without working on yourself? Is that possible? No, I don't think so. So this is something that I need to work upon myself. So that simply means that we need more trainings. We need more, not just training, even reflection from you people. So where you try and understand what SEL actually, what it stands for. And if I'm talking about things like decision making, if I'm talking about things like awareness of my emotions, if I talk about my own relationship skills, so I need to check myself where I am, where do I stand, where I lack, and how do I work on it. So the more I'm able to work on myself, I'm able to contribute more on, while in the classroom. So that is something extremely important. So I hope our government also thinks of this and brings in some excellent, probably some excellent professionals to train teachers, so that, bringing it in the classrooms becomes all the more simple and easy. So that's, that's about it. And then coming to the third one, promote SEL for students. That's what we are talking about. So having a vision, getting yourself ready, and then promoting it for the students. So by developing, again, it has to be a coordinated approach. So it's not just in the classrooms, but the entire community, where you have to bring in bring in the parents as well, and then have it done together. So it has to be developmentally appropriate. So if I run a session on decision making, so my module for a class 5 will be very different from my module which I will run with a class 9 or grade 10 students. So that's obviously US teachers understand it very well. You've been doing it in and out. So that is something that you will obviously take care of when you are looking at SEL for students. And finally, reflect on data for continuous improvement. I mean, if there is no monitoring on the results, if there are no checks and balances, so I really don't know how the whole thing works then, because you need to see whether what I am doing is impacting my students or not, and how it is going to actually go it from here. So that is again a part of implementation, that you assess yourself, the entire strategies all the time.
So I think we had to talk about NEP's how physical and emotional well-being is to be an important part of the school education, and how you see it happening in the classrooms. That's what and I think you've put it very well in the why, how, and what model. um, and also talking about both physical and emotional well-being are interlinked and important to be developed in children. So how will they happen, especially in our predominant school culture, where they are rarely linked to each other? So often the sports and physical training is done using stick and fear and competition, all of which end up blunting children's sensitivity. It is a familiar scene from day-to-day life, that competition in learning is detrimental on emotional connect and promotes animosity towards others. So what are your views on that?
Okay. So, if you look at sports or physical training, yes, when we're talking about well-being, we're not just talking about the mental well-being, we're talking about the physical as well. And the relationship is, I mean, it's there for everyone to see. Haven't we seen children getting high temperature during examination time? Haven't we seen children palpitating just before the exams? And we ourselves, when we have to go on stage, aren't we very nervous and stressed out, and our heart beating faster? So it is one impacting the other. So sometimes you need to understand whether my heart started beating fast because of that I became nervous, or the very thought that I'm going to face such a big audience, so that made my heart beat faster. So this is interconnected to such an extent that emotions and cognitions are sometimes with time they kind of are merged. So what it means is, by when I say merged is, cognitions are also kind of skills that you can learn. So it's not something that you were just born with and you cannot work on. So when you talk about say a scenario where we have our sports teachers who work with the stick, because that's something that they feel it works. We know it doesn't work, because in fact, if I remember my own time, I was a student who just like one of the teachers who said that he goes with the flow when he is solving maths puzzles. So I was one of those students who used to do maths even in my free time. So when I mean, there was not much to do. We didn't have internet, we didn't have a lot of TV stuff to watch, and so I don't know. I mean, I loved doing maths that time. So that is what I used to do. So whenever I had free time, I used to just skip to the exercises which the teacher hadn't done. I used to do that. But when I had to pick up a subject after 10th, so it became very difficult for me to pick maths, because the teacher who was teaching me, he was a very aggressive teacher. I mean, I was in an all girls convent, and it was that time okay to spank the students. So he used to throw duster on us, and he used to use corporal punishment on us, and impact me to this extent that I dropped mathematics after 10th, and it was one of my passion, and one of the subjects I thoroughly enjoyed. But it somehow scared me to pick that subject. So even talking about it makes me emotional, because my memories are somehow attached with that emotion of being fearful.
Yeah.
So when we attach fear with learning, it doesn't work. And it's not just me or my example that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the whole area of research that is around us, which says that fear actually mars the learning.
Yeah,
we might learn something else probably better if there was less of spanking.
Absolutely. Then there are different researches now in neurosciences which say that there is a different part in the brain when the child is scared, the survival instincts come up and learning stops. And there is a different part when openness and creativity is when there is a safer environment when children can actually learn. So it's very important how a child is feeling inside a classroom or in presence of a teacher.
Yes.
So, Upasana, I remember, when we're talking about the emphasis of physical and emotional well-being to an important part of school education, and you telling us, how do you see it happening in the classrooms? And you mentioned talking about some curricular structure and pedagogical approaches to that. Can you give us some idea on that as well?
Yes. So just something to understand it graphically, emotion and cognition. So if you look at this diagram, this Venn diagram, I mean, one is cognition, the other is emotion. So look at the overlap. I mean, there's a huge overlap between cognition and emotion. So that is your emotional thought, the platform for learning, memory, decision making, and creativity, both in social and non-social contexts. So even if you are sitting at home and in a bad mood, and bad mood because your parent has forced you to study, which we end up doing as parents, because we know that बच्चों को तो कुछ मालूम है नहीं, जब तक हम नहीं बोलेंगे they're not going to study. This is how parents push their children to study. So we know that they're not actually studying. They might have books open, they might be reading it aloud also, but because the emotion is not correct, is not a positive emotion while they're studying, so the learning is not happening. So I mean, we do say, you have been sitting with this for the last 2 hours, and this is what you learned. This is hardly anything. This could have been learned in 15, 20 minutes. It's just because, that kind of emotion is not at all conducive for anybody to learn. So just this. So now, after this, we can go to the next slide in talking about classroom applications. So classroom applications is actually my larger part of the presentation today, and I will be coming back to the PERMA model also, where Vishnu and you talked about this very well already. It's just that I will be taking small cues from that model as to how a teacher can take it up in the classroom and see the PERMA model in action.
Sure.
So before I move on to the PERMA model, I just talk about a few classroom applications where the students learn how and when to use rational processes. So, a simple thing like teaching them self-control. I mean, how to control themselves when you are feeling a particular way. So that is something you need to teach. Sometimes it happens that, in a class, you're trying to ask a question, and, there's this child who is, somebody very impulsive, and he's incessantly trying to say, ma'am, I, and you just want to, the easy way out is to just snub that child and put him at rest so that others can answer. But, when sometimes this kind of a thing happens, and there's another child who says, I am not speaking because this child keeps on interrupting, and because of this child, there's another child who goes quiet in the child and doesn't want to answer. It's not because the child does not know the answer, but because he just doesn't know what to do about this whole situation, probably because he's not as aggressive as the child. So as a teacher, you should know. Yeah, I was assuming, but as a teacher, you should know who all are the children who will be probably, kind of not able to open up and say that, it's because of this child that I'm not able to answer. So as a teacher, it's your duty to be, there completely. So being there completely means it's not taking answers only from the child who's answering, but knowing that there's another one who might know, but is not able to do it because of such a situation. So teaching self-control to the one who's impulsive, and teaching the other child who's not able to come up in such a situation as to how to be a little assertive in such a situation and answer. Yes, so we're talking about metacognitive activities. So what is metacognition? So if you look at this and try and just break down this word, meta just means beyond. So when we're talking about cognition, and cognition is that we already discussed, the thinking, the memory, the learning, the comprehension, all of these are cognitive processes, and metacognitive is going beyond that. So when I say going beyond, it simply means knowing about knowing, thinking about thinking, learning about learning. So that is, to put in simple words, when I say thinking about when I say about trying to bear as to okay, if I am somebody who always ruminates a lot, so I should be aware of that. So it is a higher order thinking, actually. So when we say critical thinking or higher order thinking, that's our metacognitions that are in play, where we are aware if we are on the right track or the wrong track. So sometimes that does happen. So, talking about when we say knowing about my memory or learning about my own learning styles, how I learn better, how I don't learn well. So all of this is something that, can be talked about in the classes, and teachers do take it up sometimes because, if I have given an example over there that, for example, the simple use of why in a question turns the discussion away from the bare facts and towards motivation and emotion. Say, for example, why did the pioneers settle where the two rivers came together? So it becomes a fact-based question. So when we say metacognition, or we say higher order thinking skills, we put a why where we say as to why did they settle where the two rivers came together? So they're going to go beyond that is obvious. So this is going to bring in more of cognition, socio-emotional reasoning to just a fact. That is what it means. All right. So when we coming to the next one, where it says that activities that emphasize social interaction and that engage the entire body. So we will be talking about quick activities, but here I've given you some examples like games, discussions, field trips, interactive projects, cooperative learning, physical education, and the arts. All of this is something that is going to help you in improving social interaction. Like I said, memories are contextual. So for example, role plays. I'm sure you do role plays in the class, but try and do more of them because it makes it more contextual in nature. So that becomes you have to be creative enough, because like I said, how a chemistry teacher is going to think about it depends on your creativity. So maybe you have that I had seen in one of the training sessions, one of the teacher had applied a role play scenario where there was this she was trying to teach the reaction of a soap with water and how the cleaning process takes place. So, she had made students wear certain, placards which had the names of the element that they were. And, the students had to come together. So which two elements, I mean, I'm pretty bad at chemistry, so I would not know myself, but how, one element comes together and, it makes a washing powder with whatever chemicals it is made. And then there was this hydrogen, two hydrogens and one oxygen, they come together, it makes water. Then all of them get together. And what is the reaction out of it? Then, another combination of students come out. So it was kind of a role play. So it makes it makes learning fun and contextual, and brings in, long time learning. So that is really important. So yeah, can we move to the next one? This is something that is really, I have seen in my experience, a lot of schools, with good intentions, they end up playing the bad cop sometimes, and that is counterproductive. So they might make it very stressful sometimes, but it doesn't actually give good results. So that is something that to look in, because the situations are really stressful for students in a school, so his self-esteem is going to be hampered. And once the self-esteem goes down, it's very difficult for you to make the child even believe in himself being a good learner or somebody who can achieve something in life. So learning will take a big backseat, and it's going to be really detrimental. So looking at that, authorities are sometimes difficult for me to understand why we are still hung up on the culture of punishing a child, rather than trying to connect with him and understand him, and then probably look at certain solutions. So maybe it has to be, like we said, that it takes a village to bring up a child. So it's not just one teacher, but probably all of you, if you are together and you share the same vision, so it's easier for you to handle very, very disruptive students in your school. So start with a check-in. So this is something that we started today as well, where you check in and try and have a quick check with the students as to how they are feeling today. So this is something that I do with my students generally. Not always, I'll be very honest, not always, because sometimes I have a lot to do in the session, so I kind of skip it. So my beginning is just how is everyone feeling, so just a chorus response is okay for me. But mostly what I do is I create polls for them, because right now we are doing everything online. So it's an online poll for them. So I give them 3-4 responses. So, one response is, say, happy and excited. One is happy and calm. One is sad and calm. The other one is sad and frustrated, something of this sort. So they have 4 or 5 responses, and then I kind of gauge the mood of the class, and it gives me an opportunity to talk to a child personally if I feel that 1 or 2 of them have. So I can connect with them in the private chat later on. So that's something that can be helpful to bring in some sort of understanding of the mood of the class. Then morning meetings or your circle time. This is again very, very important. I'm sure most of you are already doing that, but this is something that you should not miss at any cost, because morning meetings is a time when it's the teacher who's not speaking much, it's the child who is talking more. So, I have seen my students don't like missing my classes. They enjoy my classes, not because I am a wonderful teacher or anything of that sort. It's just because they feel heard when they are with me. I mean, being a teacher, teachers, I know they have to speak a lot, because if they don't speak, how are they going to, impart their knowledge and everything? But the entire day, the children are only listening. So if you give them a lending ear, I know it can be very frustrating sometimes, because it's easy for people like Vishnu and people like Agnes, who can do a lot of researches. But once they come to the class and they have to face these kids day in and day out, they would know the moment you give them that light rope that you can share how you're feeling, the moment you say that, it can take your entire day, not even just one period. So you can have boundaries, you can have certain focused questions, like I said, give them 4 answers, what they're supposed to say. So have those kind of questions even in your morning meetings, and have focused answers, and the rules like everybody gets this much time to speak. So that is again very important. Using literature is again a wonderful way, and I'm sure some of you are doing, because it's not just using literature in English classes, but even sometimes say if I talk about younger lot, so you have a lot of books with which teach things like conflict resolution. They teach things like social responsiveness or inclusivity. So try and identify such literature, and as per the classroom level or as per the level of the students, you have those kind of discussions in the classroom, because this will be a wonderful hook for you to start on with. Then work in partnerships. Again, when we talk about partnerships, the partnerships can be between students in your same class. Partnership can be because we have peer buddies. So that is also another way of having excellent way of improving the socio-emotional learning in the classroom. Plan lots and lots of group activities. So please don't feel that group activities is something that's going to take a lot of time. But with the right intention, if you take up group activities, I'm sure it's going to help you in bringing in a lot of happy children. And as far as the skills are concerned, they will be learning a lot of skills while connecting together. Build a community of teams. Have teamworks, give teams certain names when you're in the class. So if you have a topic which has 5 subheads, or create 5 sub-teams in your class, give them work to do as a team, and see the energy over there. That's going to improve their collaborative skills, improve their communication skills, and it's also going to improve empathy also sometimes. So that is something you, as a teacher, you need to be just around them when it is happening. Then journaling is again very, very important way of doing what we are talking about, and that is imparting SEL learning in the classrooms. So there is this picture on the right hand side, if you can see. This is are cues which might say that we don't know what to write in the journal. There are some who are very expressive when it comes to writing. Some who are not. These cues can that can really help them. So journaling is something that can help them express themselves, because if they feel that they are connected with you, they will share their journals with you, and you can work on certain things if you look at there. Then nurture a culture of kindness. Teach them alternate ways to express. So children do say certain things because they, the age, they have limited vocabulary, and they might say, I am really depressed today. I'm just giving an example of a child who might say, I'm really depressed today. So depressed is an extreme emotion, or it's a condition where has heard it somewhere and he just wants to convey that he's really, really sad. So maybe giving them a vocabulary where there's an entire wheel of emotions on internet which you can look for, and start talking about they can themselves through. So instead of saying he could have simply said, I'm really upset today. So these words can actually have an impact on their emotion, and that can consequently impact the learning. So having that kind of vocabulary is really important. Then teach them to monitor their own progress. So this is something that they can do it on a regular basis. Again, you'll have to teach them how to do that. And I think it's there on the page when we go there. Or probably, Nikhil, if you can put it.
Which one?
There's this bar graph, this child is actually trying to understand on the, how to, where is he presently and where has he reached after a while. So this is just a graph for the words. So you can have it for separate things. Like, say for example, say a child is some
Upasana, can you hear us? No, I think Upasana got disconnected. So I think, these are great suggestions. I loved knowing about this morning check-in, the teacher toolbox, and this bar graph also. We will be sharing some of this on the WhatsApp group where we have everybody. So don't worry, we will share it with everybody. And now in the interest of time, I would request Agnes to join us on the stage. Yes.
Hi, Nikhil. I think can we start with a poll?
Okay, everybody. So here is a poll coming to you, and let's see what you think about this one. On your screen now. What happens to you when you hear a child has not done her homework? You tend to feel concerned. You tend to feel angry that you can't carry forward your lesson plan. You tend to think your instructions are not being taken seriously. You tend to make a judgment about the child and use sarcasm to teach him. So, an open question of currently, there obviously there are right answers, but there is something that happens to us right now. So let's right now answer what you think happens usually.
Okay. So everyone, hello, good evening. So before doing this question right now, looking at this question right now, how many of you have actually spent time looking at what happens to you when you hear that something is not done? The child has not done the homework. Most of the times as teachers, we end up responding to, oh, you haven't done the homework, so now do this, do that, do this, do that. It's always action from our side. But taking a pause and looking at what has happened to me when I hear that this child has not done the homework. Am I feeling concerned? Am I feeling angry that I couldn't carry on my own lesson plan? Am I feeling that, okay, this guy doesn't take me seriously. This child doesn't listen enough and doesn't pay attention. Or you end up thinking, oh, this one is like that only. No change is going to happen to him. Whatever is happening to you is the basis for whatever action you take with the child. So when we're talking about well-being, this entire webinar on well-being, the well-being of the teacher, the person inside the classroom, is most critical, because you're the one who's going to be taking care of what goes on inside the classroom, how children look at things, how children perceive new situations. So I think that is the point of time where it becomes so critical that each teacher is there, right there, looking at what is going on to her also, instead of focusing on what should I do now. But first take a few seconds for yourself and see what is happening to you. Something that we do at Propel, and I thought I would want to share with you. So when we're talking about wakeful practices, making well-being a wakeful practice. So how does Propel support teachers in creating this kind of a wakeful practice? One example we just did. So there was a question where we were talking about what kind of emotion do you go through, recognizing that emotion, acknowledging what it is, and then moving from where one has been in their own life completely. So a lot of people end up realizing that, I've always felt a lot of pity for myself. I've always felt that I'm too terrible a person. But then when they talk about their own lives, they look at what all they've accomplished in life, they come to accepting, okay, so that is one part of my life and this is another part of my life. So when we begin working with self, what we do is, so we have these workshops where teachers would come in, join in, and the schools that we are working with. And we spend time where they are recognizing, acknowledging, and building on their own selves from there. From working on self, we then move to working with teams. So teachers getting together in smaller groups, leaders getting together in smaller groups, and establishing meaningful relationships. So how does one establish meaningful relationships, collaboration, all of that? How does that happen? It's not the regular chit chat about how are you feeling, just that much that helps in building meaningful relationships. That is also very important. But somewhere we need to begin to give them tasks which would engage them together. So with our curriculum, we have project based learning, which gives them an opportunity to work together towards something. So there is some planning that they discuss with their peers, take feedback. When they do that kind of work, it helps them understand where each person in the team is. And then from just saying, okay, oh, your idea is really nice, to, oh, your idea is nice, and let's build it this way. So moving from just acknowledging to now turning this into a cooperative and a high performing team. That's something that begins to happen. That's the kind of feedback that begins to come in eventually when the teams start to work together. Similarly, so there are regular meetings, discussion meetings that we organize for teachers when they begin to use the curriculum, and each one is given the opportunity to express themselves, to express the meaning that they find in the work. So what is this work that I'm talking about? I just talked about what support the teachers have, but what is this work that we're talking about? Upasna had shared the example of morning meetings. So something that we have in one of the projects that we're doing with grade 3, so children create this complaint box in school, and they have this box and they just go and put chits of their complaints, whatever they may have, and they put those chits in those boxes. The next day, or probably one time in the week, which has been set aside, the teacher opens the box with the children and they pick out the complaint and talk about it. So this is one sheet that you look at. Children have created a complaint box. They're now sitting together to discuss it. And then while discussing, they're also individually reflecting on each complaint that has come about. So, what is the complaint or problem about? What do you think is the reason for this? What do you feel about it? How do you think this can be addressed? How do you feel after addressing the problem? So, it's a journey of reflection that you're taking all the children of the class through for each complaint that has come about. In the first few months, the complaints would be like 50 complaints, 40 complaints, but slowly you'll realize when children begin to understand how to address the complaints, the number of complaints will start reducing. So they will know what to do, how to do it, and they will do it themselves instead of getting it back to you again. So what you're doing is you're empowering the children to deal with their own problems. So this is from one of our PBL books. Again, children are playing a particular game before this, and then they are asked to reflect on the game. So did any arguments or fights happen while playing the game? What was the argument? Who were involved? Who according to you started the fight? What did you feel during the fight? What do you think the other person felt? So here, when Upasana was talking about things, I think she mentioned it under relationship skills. So one is what you felt during an argument, and the other is what do you think the other person felt. So becoming aware, becoming sensitive to somebody else also experiencing something in the same problem, and then going about how to address that issue. These are all at the level of grades 3, 4, 5, where we're engaging with children across these multiple projects, and we're giving them these opportunities to engage, to understand, and to figure out what their emotion is. With that emotion, how do you want to deal with it? So there can be multiple ways of dealing with an emotion. So there are these three children, and this guy with the book, his name is Vaibhav, and he's yelling at the other one, "Can't you be quiet? I'm trying to read, but you're disturbing me." And then children predict, so okay, what might happen next? So Vaibhav and Arun might start fighting. Arun might get very angry, and write what according to you will happen. So they have to think and write down whatever they think will happen. Then, based on whatever children have written, we then ask them to think of an alternative. How could it be done differently? If Vaibhav had to communicate the same thing, that he was getting disturbed, How could he communicate it without offending Arun? So that's something that children are allowed to engage in over here. A lot of discussion goes on in the class along with this. It's not just that this worksheet would go or this book would go and it just happens. A lot of discussion happens around it, but these are all opportunities that children use. Recognizing their own emotions. I think there's a lot of work that we have done for well-being on recognizing your own emotions. So we get them to play this particular one game. So most people would have played four corners. So you have four students standing on four corners, and then there's one in the center, and they sort of keep switching places, and this one has to figure out uh, who's the den. What happens is when they're playing this, so five people playing together, very simple, right? So all five are involved. Now after that, they're supposed to play a different game, and they have to choose two players for that game out of that five group. So when they choose only two players, they leave some of them out. Then there is conversation about who was left out, who was selected, who was not selected, how did they feel. So the whole idea of inclusion, exclusion, how it impacts children, how it impacts them, how it impacts others. So developing a certain sense of empathy, developing a certain sense of care, even though they might think that, this particular child will not contribute so much or will not be very good at the game. Yet, what does it mean to include someone? So those are the kinds of things that the curriculum has. So if you look at this particular sheet, this is for grade one. And within this, so grade one children will not directly be able to talk about what an emotion is and how they're feeling. But with visuals, they're able to engage. So what makes me laugh? So you see that child who's very happy, laughing kind of child. And then there are these visual examples. So a tickly toes, a big red nose, being rude, whatever. Children can select circle, and it sort of helps them to connect and sort of bring it to a metacognitive level, to a recognition level, what the emotion they're feeling and when they're feeling. Similarly, what makes me cry? So that's again, so there are various emotions that children of grade 1 are also exposed to. And the level of exposure, I think, the way you expose children and the way you get them to express, that changes across the grades. But you still give them some exposure so that they're able to, adjust socially, they're able to engage with each other, and sort of be very, I think, emotionally stable. And then so something on accepting differences. So if you see this visual, there are these two children. One has a very sharp eyesight and a sharp target hitting ability. So his hit on the dartboard is right on the target, and the other is who doesn't have a sharp eyesight. He's wearing specs, so he may not be able to do the dartboard at this point of time, but he's excited about reading the stories to children who are younger than him. So accepting the differences, there are physical differences that exist, accepting them and seeing them as strengths. That's also something that we try to build across the curriculum. Um, I think overall building a certain sense of self awareness and awareness of how the relationships impact each other. That's something that really helps children, and it will go to children only when we as teachers are able to recognize it. So the next poll, Nikhil, if you could just launch it. So I want you guys, so this poll is going to be a little tricky one, okay? Because all of us a lot of times want to give the right answer.
Yes,
But this one is
yeah.
really not about finding the right answer. This one is really about
Recognizing.
just recognizing what happens to you as a teacher. And we're not going to disclose the results, so don't worry about who's given what answer. But just do it from your heart, whatever happens.
The question is, when I have a fight at home, I tend to carry my anger pain with me to my class. I tend to leave my anger and pain outside the class. I get in touch with my emotions and am at peace with them. And the last one is I push myself to be optimistic and enter the class all perked up. 15 seconds for you to recognize.
Yeah, I pretty much expected the highest one to be I tend to leave my anger or pain outside my class. Um, so just to share with you that it's a very long held belief and a value that I think in our teaching colleges also it's taught that you have to leave your emotion, you have to leave your anger and frustration outside of the door of your classroom and then you enter the classroom. But you are really one individual, right? One person who's outside the class and one person who's inside the class. It's not two different people. So as much as you try to sort of hide the emotion or cover it up, it doesn't really work. A lot of the times I mean I think Nikhil and I were having a conversation a little earlier about this poll only, and he said, I remember in my childhood we used to talk about if the teacher entered the class and yelled at 2 3 children, we would be talking about, oh, what happened today, what did I do today, I did nothing and still she's yelling at me. So yeah, I mean children get to know, right? And even for yourself, I think it's unfair to expect yourself to drop everything outside the class. So if you can be in touch with your emotion and recognize that, okay, whatever happened and I am feeling angry right now, but that is what I am feeling. And that's it. And it is okay to be angry. It doesn't mean I have to vent out my anger on somebody else, but to recognize that I am feeling angry and it is okay. Let me allow myself to just feel that anger and move on from there. Then you go ahead and do what you need to do in the class. But venting out is a whole different ball game. Venting out happens when you have not recognized the emotion within yourself. So yeah, so I am just gonna close with that a little abruptly, probably, but we're really out of time. And Vishnu, Nikhil, anything you guys want to add?
Yes, thank you, Angie.
Ma'am, can I say something? Bhavna this side.
Yes, please, Bhavna.
Yes, Bhavna.
I would really appreciate the topic you have raised. It's not only with the student, not only with the teachers, it's with students also. It happens same thing. They
Yes.
are also not able to leave that thing at home, and sometimes we as teacher are able to find out if we
Hmm.
get time actually in the
Hmm.
class to look at each child, like in Zoom session, so it's not possible, but physically I've observed many times in the class that
Hmm.
students, they also had a lot of things in their mind going on related to their family, their parents, or some other teachers, maybe the peer mate, and they are also not being able to leave that thing, and that reflects in the classroom. Does happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think I'm
Though,
just gonna highlight again what Upasana had shared about morning meetings.
yes.
I think it is so critical, and I have seen it happening in my classroom. The moment you open it up with how are you feeling today, or what are you excited about, or what are you sad about today, the kinds of things that will come up, and then it's such a beautiful release for children and for the teacher as well. So thank you so much for sharing, Bhavna.
Yeah, you
No,
know,
no, it's a pleasure, and it's thank you so much. I was running short of time, but it was wonderful attending this session. Thank you so very much.
thank you, Bhavna. And this reminds me, when we do work in emotional intelligence, one thing which is said about emotions is that, and when we talk about expressing emotions and learning how to express, so what is not expressed in words is expressed in behavior. So when we are not able to learn how to express it in words, it somehow shows in our behavior somewhere. So yeah, it's very important to learn that skill. I think wonderful, Agnes, Upasana, Vishnu, the things that you shared. Vishnu, would you like to share something finally before we close?
I want to know if there are any questions like Bhavna shared, and that maybe other people who want to add, because it's a small group and we have deliberately kept it small to make it experiential and interactive. I would like to hear if there is anybody who has a question or who would like to resonate in with whatever has been said?
Vishnu, I would like to add something over here.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
please.
Yeah, so we used to have mood leaves. Mood leaves. So we had different colors allotted to these leaves. So we had told our children that as per your mood, as per your emotion, you pin up that leaf on your shirt. So there were colors like yellow, you're sunny, feeling bright. You're green. When you're green, you're feeling, all fine. No lows, no high. If you're angry, you put a red leaf. If you're really feeling very sad, you put a blue color leaf. So there was this one little incident which I remember. I was receiving the children at the school gate, and I saw a child get down with a blue color leaf. So I asked the child to walk aside, and I asked him, I said, "What happened? Why are you feeling so sad?" And the child responded कि मैम मम्मा रोज मुझे गरम गरम दूध देती हैं सुबह पीने के लिए और फिर मारती हैं और कहती है टाइम हो गया है बस आने का. तो मुझे ये अब बहुत गुस्सा आने लगा है कि शी वांट्स मी टू ड्रिंक द मिल्क और मिल्क को भी इतना गर्म कर देती है और फिर मुझे ही मारती हैं और कहती हैं कि बस आने का टाइम हो गया है. So I said, okay, I will definitely talk to your mother and I will let her know your concern. So the minute I shared it, I had called the mother to school. I said, please come for 10-15 minutes if possible. I would like to talk to you. And then when I shared this emotion with the mother, she was like, कि oh God, मैंने कभी ऐसा सोचा ही नहीं था कि हाँ दूध मैं ही गर्म कर रही हूँ और इतना गर्म हो जाता है और मैं ही उसको फिर प्रेशराइज करती हूँ कि बस आने का टाइम है. And that brought such a beautiful change in her own behavior towards her son. And I kept an eye on this boy. Whenever he would come, he would be wearing a yellow color leaf, and I used to feel really nice that he's feeling happy. So these little actions that we bring into the classroom, into the school, actually sets the mood of the children also. And if you are able to talk to the parents, I think it brings it improves the relationship between the parents and the children. So that was an experience I thought I should share.
Yeah, I think one important thing that we learned from Upasana as well as Angie, that there are different strategies that teachers employ. We do. There are this we've been learned how to get in touch with feelings and being able to recognize the feelings, being able to stay with them, talk about them. So as Nikhil said, otherwise, when we feel something, all we do is we vent it out, or we tend to suppress it. In fact, very interesting, if you look at the poll number 2 and poll number 4 are actually the same process, okay? You don't leave something at the door, okay? You feel you have left it and you perk yourself up and do, but it's all there bottled up. And you see that more than 90% people have actually, have chosen the two, which is single. So then what happens? And what it's been taught. How do we get in touch with our feelings so that we can, at least if they can't resolve, I should not be damaging. I should not, become destructive. Okay. I feel frustrated and I become destructive. I feel angry and I become destructive. So Rajni is a very beautiful way. Okay, you use a color, you use a leaf, you use some other object. You can also, nowadays we have these 100 smileys of those, not smileys, what are they called? Emoji comps. Okay, so you just use that to get children to talk about, this is what I'm feeling. They don't need words, okay? The good thing about feelings is that the feelings expressed through your body. They don't necessarily express so much through words. And the body language children know, animals know, children are, yes. I want to hear some other people.
I just wanted to add a little bit, Vishnu. So Rajni ji, what you shared, I think it's a beautiful example of how the teachers are a bridge for the relationship with the parents. And I think increasingly when children start growing up, that becomes so much more stronger. So therefore, the relationship with the teacher has to constantly be right there, right in touch with what is happening to the child, what is happening to the teacher in the entire process. But just adding one more thing to that, that yes, teachers are the bridge, but the same bridge can be used otherwise also, the other way also. So parents can become the bridge where the teacher is having the problem with the child. So
Okay.
parents, that relationship can then be used. Yeah, Vishnu, you wanted to add something.
So I'm just thinking if we could do this one exercise before you log out, get in touch with your feeling and write that feeling in the chat box. I'm sorry, Nikhil, if you had thought of saying that, I'm really sorry. Don't kill me for this, okay? Because generally, I get to boss around here, which is sometimes not
Perfectly
nice
fine. I
to
think
do.
whoever asks doesn't matter. Let's do this, folks. Let's
Yeah.
please enter right now. What are you feeling?
Hmm.
Let's see the answers that we get. I am feeling anxious because of the time. Okay,
Wait, it's okay.
that's me. Okay, folks, in the chat, empowered,
You have
optimistic,
to be authentic.
authentic, yeah. Happy feeling right now is I think I have many things to share about my kids, but running short of time. Yes, Bhavna, there is so much that we also want to share. I think we should have kept this for at least 3 hours. Excited as it's Sunday night. Wow. Positive, very happy, feeling great, and we will be following most in our school. Excited and wonderful, great, very interesting, very nice. Great, and with this, there is one more small exercise that I will now launch on the screen, for which I would request everybody, and this is for everybody. Please bring your phones in your hand right now. Everybody, bring your phone in your hand, and in your Internet Explorer in the Chrome, you have to type Slido. So you have to open Slido, okay, Slido, and then it will ask you for a event code. Okay, everybody open Slido. Here is the screen. Okay, everybody bring your phone in your hand and open sli.do and enter the event code 64164. 64164. Enter this. And here is the question that we have for you now. The question is, now after listening to all of this, what comes to your mind when you hear the word well-being? And start typing in your answers over there. What comes to your mind when you hear the word well-being? And here on your screen, let's see what people are saying. It's social, emotional learning, mental health, happy. Yeah. What comes to your mind when you hear the word well-being? 3 people have voted, 5 people have voted. Okay. Positive disposition, doing something for kids, all good, gratitude. Okay. Empathy. What does well being mean for you now? Emotions, empowered. Okay. What more is coming? Happy is coming out to be the biggest one. A lot of people are saying happy. And the second is coming social emotional learning. Okay. Happy is still the biggest one. Okay. I think we spoke about so many things, from the why, how to what to, implementation and getting in touch with feelings, the biggest one. I think this is a lifelong practice. Happy and comfortable, cared, connecting, compassion, spreading happiness, positive emotions, peace within, a sense of elation. Okay. Staying happy is also taking over. Happiness coming out to be the maximum one. Motivated. Yeah, I think wonderful things. All of what we covered can be summarized into this one slide over here.
Yeah, like mentally strong and awake, someone's written over there.
Yeah.
And positive with acceptance. Nice, very insightful.
The latest work that that they've been doing in researches that they've been doing in well-being, they actually talk about the word grit. So that is mentally strong and awake. Okay. So grit has become a very powerful way of expressing your well-being. I mean, it's a determinant of well-being.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody. I think these are wonderful suggestions. I will put a stop to it. And since we are out of time,
Thank you, Nikhil, Angie, Rajni, Upasna, and everybody.
and keep in touch with us. Here are the contact details, our Facebook link. So we'll see you soon. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.